Orlando, I always seen it as the backyard of Brazil. The college life here as a student athlete is something that I wouldn't trade for anything, even throughout my whole professional career. Is it the way that we Brazilians love the game or Europeans love the game? I don't think the passion is yet that in the same level. Messi is another one. And when that phenomenon came here and you went to the game, you saw Kim Kardashian going to watch, Will Smith going to watch, but otherwise are not fans.
Welcome to Game Plan, a podcast where we're going to be meeting athletes, business owners, entrepreneurs, and industry leaders. I'm Caio Philip, and I'm going to be your host. What is your game plan?
On this week's episode, Ricardo Villar.
Welcome to another episode of Game Plan. I'm here today with someone that doesn't need an introduction. He's known as the king of soccer in the USA.
Come on, man.
How are you, Villar?
Good. How are you?
Good?
Thanks for having me.
Of course. You played professionally in 6 countries.
Mm-hmm.
You left Brazil when you were 17,
Yes.
like many kids do.
Yeah.
And then you graduated from Penn State.
Mm-hmm.
You turned soccer into a business. You launched Florida Cup.
Mm-hmm.
You eventually were acquired. So then you're still the CEO. And you made the FC series become the within the North American summer schedule. So I've got to ask you, when you wake up every morning, what is your game plan?
My job here, my title now here, right? What I must do every day is just look to boost tourism through international opportunities related to soccer. So international matches, whether it's the national team or big clubs coming by or even a competition that we need to hopefully co-bid with other partners in town. So my job is really to push the envelope here and try to bring the best opportunities that we can to Orlando. Not just any opportunity, but try to earn. I think we earned the spotlight over the years. So just maintain that and hold big games in town. So I think I wake up every day thinking about that and how you puzzle that together. But it's all with a lot of partners that in relationships you built across many years.
Let's go back for a second here. You retired in 2013, 12.
Yep.
And then you woke up one day and said, I'm going to create this Florida Cup, which became FC Series, which is now part of the whole summer.
I didn't wake up one day with that thought. Me and my partner in 2004, when I was in Salzburg, Red Bull, the club there. I was in the year of the transition to Red Bull. I didn't play video games and wasn't much of a golfer either. So I had a lot of time in the afternoons on my hand. And I went to Penn State through an opportunity and a scholarship. And
to play soccer.
And then later I brought my best friend, Ricardo Villar, also to the States, or helped him make the same transition. And we lived something that we never would expect, right? And the college life here as a student athlete is something that I wouldn't trade for anything, even throughout my whole professional career. And we wanted to provide that to people back in Brazil, the same opportunity, right? To unite sports and education and the incentive is here in the US. So we started a business called 2SV, and with that, over many years, we placed over 3,500 kids, more than $200 million of
When you say
scholarships.
that, you helped 3.5 thousand kids to come to the US
From Brazil, yeah. And
from Brazil.
Yeah. So most of the Division I soccer kids now are coming from still our company and so on. But when I graduated, I went to Vera and said, okay, now what? Let me help the company. And it's like, okay, come to Brazil. I said, I can't come to Brazil. I have a wife. She's German. I think the cultural position's not going to work that way. And I want to stay here. Well, we our job, we sell here in reais. You spend in dollars. We got to think about something else. So the Florida Cup was an opportunity where Brazil was hosting the Confederations Cup and the World Cup. The teams they needed to provide their training grounds for Colombia, US, whatever, all the teams coming by, and they had no place to train. So the US was a quick option. And during that time, that opportunity was out there and they needed somebody to connect. And I said, okay, I think I can, connect with Orlando because I have been part of a preseason there. I know all the infrastructure that exists there. And a guy by the name of Patrick Dix was doing everything here during that time. And I called him and he said, yeah, I think we can get something done. So the first year, actually, when I helped teams come here for training, I was still playing and I was ending my career. It was 2013.
So you knew you would end?
I think it was a feeling, right? I mean, I was 30, going 34. already pushing my limits physically. I never was a true athlete, let's say it that way. And it was just a natural transition that took place. I didn't know that Florida Cup would come to fruition, but I knew there was something there. And there was a whole process of internationalization happening at the time where Germany with the Bundesliga and the EPL and all these countries were starting to get big money for TV rights internationally.
The
and
big boom of media.
They needed to be positioned, and their footprint in the US was important. So I saw that opportunity, and I spoke German, spoke Portuguese, spoke different languages, knew people that were in the market. So it was only fitting that I gave that chance. So that's how it started.
You mentioned about the kids you helped or their families, and I think that's a big thing, right? I mean, you look back and you see how many kids, because not everything is about money, but it's about the foundation, the legacy.
It's funny because it's something I never mentioned this anywhere, but it's something that we're most proud of because you really change kids' lives.
Right, forever.
And I even spoke about, this, and there was interest from the former owner of Orlando City, Flavio at the time, in the business and all. But the whole thing about what we do is you cannot just escalate like any other business.
Right.
Treating the kids, the father's kid, which is their treasure. So you have to be more, quality versus quantity. So we have a limit to who we can work with and who deserves and is willing to pay the price to make that transition. So we continue to help about 150 to 200 kids per year. Sometimes more because you have to transfer, and then there's the off window, which is January, that happens last in the middle of the year. But we continue to place them in the best possible colleges in America and what they fit in. And that's rewarding because you see the changes in how they come back, and you end up building a little alumni.
But who was the person who inspired you when you were young? You were in São Paulo, Brazil? You're from São Paulo, Brazil?
I'm from São Paulo, Brazil.
So who was the player? Because I'm sure if you are a kid now and you are seeing Neymar, Vini Jr., whoever is playing, Messi, you're like you can relate. You see them, you buy their jersey, and you want to be them. Who was your idol back then?
I mean, on and off the field. Okay, so on the field, I cannot lie. I was a fan of Marcelinho Carioca.
Marcelinho Carioca.
The way he,
and that's amazing
that he played and how he
played in Corinthians, right?
Corinthians, yeah,
right.
Even though I played my youth in São Paulo for 10 years, but off the field, my dad was my hero. He was an engineer, and he played when he could, more on a amateur level. And I thought I could unite both so much. I'm an industrial engineer, graduated from Penn State. Not that I practice engineering, but after getting my diploma, I went on to play professional soccer. So I think I went on both paths, which is not easy to a certain extent.
Right.
And then when I graduated, I got drafted by MLS, and I couldn't take free kicks like Marcelinho. And I couldn't do the engineering stuff that my dad did, but it molded me in my different path.
But it's curious to say that because not every player has the same background as you. How many players are graduated on whatever? It's not common.
Not in the maybe international professional level, right? A lot of them doing college as a student athlete.
Right, here in the US because they got the scholarship. But let's talk about Africa, Europe. They're mainly like, they just follow.
Right, between the two.
Yeah, and you picked both, and you did very well. Like you mentioned about Florida Cup, it was an opportunity to bring things to Orlando. Why Orlando?
Orlando, I always seen it as the backyard of Brazil. There's a big connection there. Not only to Brazil, I think to the UK as well. I've always been a fan of those unique matchups where you draw media from everywhere, something different schools of soccer meeting. And I think Orlando is the main spot for that as an international destination. I think you can argue, Florida or Miami, other places, but Orlando is the main one. So much infrastructure, so much opportunity, the growth of Orlando at the time. I mean, we've been here now in 2025. When I bought my house in 2013, I was the only one in the block. Now we have like a neighborhood that already expanded. So the growth opportunity, I think all those, synergies, just it's clear that Orlando is the place to be.
You had a vision for sure. And you still had a vision, right? So you're bringing Real Madrid, Flamengo, Chelsea, Wrexham. They're all playing your tournament in the summer. Not this year because of the FIFA World Cup. But do you think let's settle this. Do you think Americans actually like soccer?
Let's settle this. I think they like a lot more soccer than when I started back in the day when I was at Penn State. That growth is impossible not to see. Is it the way that we Brazilians love the game or Europeans love the game? I don't think the passion is yet that in the same level.
Okay.
I think as the generations grow, you see that getting more and more. Obviously, it's a different culture with so many different sports, but I think it's mainly consumed still by international fans, which is a huge population alone here in America, and 25% of Florida. So
Right.
is enough, and hopefully through time catches on. But you got things like American football, basketball, things like you don't
Right.
have that in Brazil. You don't have that in other places, not in the same level as here. So it's natural that you're sharing your spotlight with other sports.
So you believe that the soccer right now in America is mainly watched by foreigners or people who are not from like
It's not mainly watched; it's consumed in a bigger
as a
way,
product,
right? Like if Americans still like to come to the stands. I mean, I've been speaking out of line because I'm here, and obviously they know what they do here in Orlando City and their fan base, but the fan base comes and attends and watches the game, and you obviously enjoy the event, right? Bring families and so on. In Brazil, they watch every game on TV when they're away. They prepare. They go say bye in the airport, and the level of passion and commitment it's bigger, and it's just natural that way. And I don't think it's gonna get like that here. The same way as I think we have our flaws back home, where you don't prepare the event the same way that they do here. The
Right.
off the field is not maximized as it is here. But one opportunity that I see in the States, and just to circle back in a point about Ryan Reynolds, and I'm gonna throw Messi in there as well, is that you feel America has that fan base of soccer, which is the true soccer fan, let's call it that way. And it's hard to attract other people just to any regular soccer match. And besides the World Cup, which obviously is going to bring everyone together and they know what that means, you have the phenomenon of Ryan Reynolds bringing Wrexham to the table and putting in, obviously, this great documentary that explored the drama between relegation and promotion, something that MLS doesn't have. And he went to spend a lot less across another continent to put that in our screens. And then obviously that captured a lot of people that were not soccer fans to see and fall in love with the game. Messi is another one. Then when that phenomenon came here and you went to the game, you saw Kim Kardashian going to watch, Will Smith going to watch, what otherwise are not fans. And I think Americans see that and say, hey, what's that? I want to see as well. So now you start, opening your perimeter gets bigger, your radius growth and grows. And I think hopefully they fall in love with the game. Same now that happened with the FIFA Club World Cup. Whoever went to the matches saw the Brazilian fans or Argentinian fans from Boca and say, what's that? I got a lot of messages from people say, hey, my son was like, I want to be part of that party. So I think those movements can help grow that nucleus. And hopefully with that, America after 2026 and beyond continues to grow.
But didn't that happen in the 90s with Pelé as well?
I wasn't here.
I was very young, right?
Yeah.
You were very young as well,
yeah.
I imagine. But it looks like another tentative, and there are many people who compare that same what is happening right now that you're describing, even with Beckham when he moved to LA, where he was part of the whole LA Hollywood scene. It's happening now again with Messi. So do you think why now is different?
I think media, social media, and the actual media movements that some of the leagues made. Think about it, the Premier League, right? It wasn't an official, a private, we'll call it private, but its own league until 1990. It used to be part of the federation, like it still is in Brazil, that hopefully changes soon.
You think it's going to change, Brazil?
I hope so. I mean, it has to, right?
Like
I don't know
the
how long it
MLS,
takes.
like we become like them.
I don't know
or
if
like
exactly like MLS, maybe closer to what the Bundesliga is, with the DFL taking care of the national team and the DFB take care of national team, DFL take care of the league. But you need to change something. And once you can structure and have a league that moves in the right, same direction as the club and everybody on board, you obviously globalize your product. And I think the Premier League was the first one to do that, is still the best one out there in the market in terms of international reach and all that. But then you have the Champions League that came across, and the way they invested in the States, that I don't think was the case back in the day. Back in the day was Americans only investing on Pele, Beckenbauer, or whoever. So infrastructure wasn't there. Maybe not the right moment. You didn't have that reach that now you see the world investing in it. And I believe that is the difference. is that gonna, change over the next 10 years or 20? I don't know. I think we're going in the right direction, and that's the important place right now.
I think we talk a lot about that moment that things will change, but maybe that moment is now. Right? Things are happening right now. Things were happening when you 10 years ago or over 10 years ago decided to set your business here and your foundation.
Well, I'll give you a little example. When I was drafted by MLS, Dallas, in 2001, we were training in a high school, playing on artificial turf with football lines. I mean, salaries were horrible, etc. When I came back to the same Dallas FC, it's FC Dallas at the time, 2011, was a completely different world. Training centers, stadiums, full stadiums, as you see here in America now. So it's just that we were so behind that the curve is still high, and I can see that happening from living it. That I agree with you. I think the moment is now, but there's a lot of growth still to be had.
So let's talk about the MLS a little bit, because I think that's very much about this. You think the MLS has evolved a lot, right, compared to a few years ago and 15, 20 years ago. You think the MLS, it's at its peak because of Messi? And what happens after Messi?
I don't think MLS has evolved technically that much more than when I played. And I was in the end of my career playing. I think it somewhat, you can argue one on another club, but I think it evolved infrastructure-wise, marketing-wise, and, stadiums, fans, and everything else. I think if the US wants to, be out there competing with the rest of the world, or that market share, whether it's TV or what have you, then it will come a time. I'm not saying they have to do the same as Saudi Arabia, but it comes a time where you're going to have to invest more on the quality of your soccer, because you have two different types of fan bases, it seems like here. The ones that, would consume and not really know in depth what they're watching or the level of the game.
Because they don't have the background, the reference, the culture.
But they like it. They feel they identify themselves through grassroots or whatever the reason is with their community, and they go and support. And then you have the real fans, which, for example, in Florida, there's a lot of them. And they don't just consume anything. They want to see, obviously, the highest level possible soccer that they can see. And that takes investment, because you're competing with salaries with the rest of the world. I don't know when the game plan is not. It's not for me to say, because I'm not an owner. I don't have a franchise and I haven't invested.
Would you buy a franchise? Would you have one?
If I ever had the capacity to, I think I would love to be part of something like that.
Which one would you buy now?
I think Florida is the place to be. Honestly, I think that's
we have two only in Florida. You have Miami and you have Orlando.
For now.
Hopefully
we'll see in the future. But I think here there's a lot of opportunities also in the youth level, right? To really do something different and raise players, but also to attract that type of fan that would consume through passion in a bigger way, which is what you see in EPL or Brazil. So, but for that, some investment is needed on the players, and the little changes in that roster limitations that exist nowadays. But they know what they're doing. I think we're just happy that it continues to be going the right path.
If let's say a scenario here where you can invest $1 million, would you do in a Brazilian team?
No.
In a MLS team?
For sure.
In an European team?
Depends on the European team and where.
Saudi Arabian?
For what reason?
In a Saudi Arabian team?
You see a lot of the clubs.
Why you said Brazil? Let's go back. Let's go back. Why you said Brazil with such a conviction?
Why? Because what kind of protection do you have? On your money, or
it's the business scenario?
The business scenario, the way that is structured. Most clubs are associative, and then you created this SAF law that you can, take over the club, and there's a lot of passion and impact from the fans that still feel they own the club, which is their right to feel that way for many years. So there's a lot of things that still have to be cleared that happened, for example, in 1990 with the EPL, that it didn't yet in Brazil. So I just like to watch from, let's say from this level, and see what's happening until the right move. Obviously, there are brave ones that are pushing the agenda, which is necessary during the transition, but I think it's safer here in America at the moment.
Right.
If you're willing to do something different, right, and explore some opportunities of revenue and new areas that could, be taken to another level.
We are here at the Interco Stadium. It's an amazing arena, as you said. Every Saturday you have 25,000 people here. Fans are coming, people from Florida, as you say, they love soccer. And you understood that before anyone else. You understood that soccer in the US was not just about soccer itself, it's about entertainment. What is different here from Europe in that sense?
I think what you said is the entertainment aspect of it is that in Europe or in Brazil, you don't need anything else. You just put the game out there and it's their religion. They will come consume it. That's it. Here you have to think outside the box. But I didn't understand. I mean, obviously MLS and everyone else, to their credit, understood way before me. I just came in and saw an opportunity where how can I attract that international fan that is not yet sold 100% by what they're seeing only here in the market. And they have those ties with their clubs back home and they live here. And how can we present something different that can be brought to the market? And the part that talks about the entertainment and, you know, Ivete Sangalo being here in this field doing a concert, or at Universal, our great partner, it was just that piece that ties in perfect in a preseason period. Not that you don't see that, for example, probably in the FIFA Club World Cup final this weekend, you will have a concert at halftime because it's a special event. But in a preseason, you have less pressure. There's more opportunities to do things with players and teams that are willing to do so, which back home, you pressure every day for results. You have families coming to Orlando, and not everybody only wants to do like soccer. They might want to see a Legends match that they can participate and live that experience, or Ivete singing or whatever. So we felt that we wrapped in a way where a lot more people, and it was easy to convince the families to come and attend. And Orlando is a family destination.
Correct.
So I think that was the, you know, what changed things, the switch that started moving the Florida Cup in the right direction. But another thing that's important to say, all these clubs and things that we brought here, before we were here, there was ICC, which is another event that for many years brought some of the biggest clubs to the market. We just focused in January on the Brazilians and the Germans, but they were bringing the big European clubs. I think working with people like, you know, Ventilect or John and Molly and those guys that have done that for many years, and bringing Orlando into the picture and finding a way to make Orlando relevant through offering things that maybe other destinations wouldn't, because we cannot just say, Orlando, come here, and everybody jumps. Obviously, those clubs have 2-3 games a year. They have to choose New York, LA, right, and big destinations. And the technical knowledge that we acquired and the context that we had to solve the football department problem and tie it to the commercial opportunities is what opened the door for us to do all these events and games that you mentioned. I mean, when did you think that we're going to put Barcelona versus Man City in Orlando? Sold out, by the way. And then you have Arsenal, Chelsea, sold out. You saw how hard it is to sell out.
You're competing with
Club
Mickey.
World Cup game.
You're competing with Mickey, right?
Well, we're complementing, I feel like. It's an incremental, you know, volume that you bring in through the passion of football. And by the way,
does Disney see that way?
I don't know how they see it. I'm with Universal, and they see it in a positive way at the moment. So I'm happy that we can attract those fans that not only because they're coming here, they don't come only to watch a preseason game. They see that, and obviously they go to the parks. Obviously, there's the hardcore fans that do come and watch the games and go to the parks. But you see that time and time again, top of mind in the media in Brazil, in Europe, with all these clubs, their social media reach millions of people following, and the experiences they have here, it resonates back home. Right. And then people say, I want to live that. So it's almost like a year-round way of keep feeding, you know, this incredible world that we have here in Orlando, and everyone wants to enjoy a piece of it with their families.
Let's talk about FIFA World Cup and the Club World Cup first. You had some clubs making $60 million just by reaching the semifinals. That kind of money is tremendous. It's abnormal. It's absurd, right? It's European.
I love to work with that to convince my clubs.
Right. And what does that kind of money do with the international calendar?
That's a very
$60 million
at the moment.
For the semifinal, and over $100 million for the winner.
I mean, it changes the entire year of a Brazilian club, for example,
or a Latin American or whoever.
Club, or, you know, I'm talking Brazilian club because I see Fluminense making the Final Four with the Europeans, but a lot of them through the quarterfinals, even Al Hilal. But not that they probably need money. but there's obviously that controversy with the European clubs, like how much does it cost, and how they're gonna do in the beginning of their season or not. I'm not in that conversation. Obviously things happen anytime you play. Like Musiala got injured now in a bad, I don't know. It just happens, right? In soccer, it sucks. But for the clubs that lose a player like that for their season, do they put that in the balance, and if it's worth it or not? I feel the competition is fantastic. I really do. Obviously, there's things to hopefully adapt and change and find ways to have Barcelona, Liverpool, and Arsenal in there and so on. But for the world to have a chance to play something like that and explore that, and for the fans, it's just that how do you balance that so it's not too much for the players? So you keep the level high without, taking too much for them or demanding too much through the year.
Physically.
And that's something that I think the conversation is to be had, but I like the competition.
And when you look about your career,
Mhm.
and when you decided to retire, and you knew what you were going to do. It was like,
I know I was going to do something in the sports business field.
you were going to
because it's
become
my
an
calling.
engineer, right? Like you weren't like,
Yeah.
oh, now I'm going to be an engineer. I'm
Yeah.
going to go to Germany and just.
I don't know if I would have gone into events again by myself the way I did in the beginning. Not by myself, I mean with a partner, but the risks involved are great. And you have an LLC. I mean, it's you and your house on the line in case something goes wrong. And a lot
Right.
of things can go wrong, as you saw in COVID years. But I'm thankful that Florida Citrus Sports saw the opportunity in us, that made the investment, and with Steve and those guys to say, hey, let's go after those big European clubs. Let's compete with the other cities. What do we have to do different? Like if you stop to think about, we had all these games that I told you about here in Orlando, but the reason we got those games is because we also offered a preseason tour to those clubs like Man City, where we had to, put a game together in Ohio Stadium. We against Chelsea for 70,000 plus people. We did a game at Yankee Stadium against Milan. So we went off our comfort zone and really explored opportunities to attract those clubs to be part of our platform, as long as the big game happens in Orlando every year. And I couldn't do that without a company behind supporting, that's been here for years in the market, and all the political ties as well, to say, hey, let's really take that approach. Myself, with the Florida Cup in the past, I don't know how long it would have taken to get to that level, because obviously it's a big investment. But for the city, I mean, the economic impact over the years, I think, has been fantastic. And partnering up with Orlando City, for example, in the past couple of years, and Inter and Co. with the things we did in January for the Brazilian clubs and everything else, I think it just complements and makes it a year-round opportunity. And I think that's special about Orlando. Think about, we're the only city with 2 stadiums in the FIFA Club World Cup. It allowed us to have different sorts of game, big games, small games. And in the past, we wouldn't. Copa America would have one, or the World Cup, we failed to have one. And I think now with those partnerships and everybody speaking and offering something different, Orlando has a big opportunity to continue to rise, especially with our stadium now getting a big renovation.
For sure, you are one of the biggest advocates for Orlando, and I think we're all very thankful for that. When you look about your career and your retirement, and you look about other players, few players do what you did, right? Take that path to become a CEO or invest in business and doing remarkable stuff. It seems they retire at 35 because they get injured or they made money. A lot of them gain weight. A lot of them go party. You have a lot of tabloids, right? And news about their parties and so on. And they are kind of go from an idol to somebody that you don't want your kids following them, right?
It's hard to find role models.
Why is that? Why that happens to soccer players?
I mean, I don't know. It's hard to find, those Kakas that are still a role model that obviously continues to be big, even though he stopped playing.
Why is hard to find?
I think is maybe what they gave up and sacrificed in their careers in certain countries, such as Brazil, to become a soccer player. You have to give up school. You have to give up a social life. You live in your youth environment. You live under a gladiator sort of, system where you are within, I don't know, 50 players every year, but only, a couple would go past to the next level. The funnel is so thin that you're fighting against your own. And that obviously you cannot be overseen. So when you come through that and you win in life, first of all, you're having things that you've never had in the past. So it's very easy to lose yourself. And then second, when you end, like, what have you done to your foundation? And that's not everybody. There's a lot of people that do really well, and even if they didn't have no secondary education or anything like that, or they gave up education for it, they found a way to still, play to their strength and do what they like best and find a way to move their money and still become better businessmen afterwards. But the majority really is, like you said, there might be some that have opportunity on TV and become, like the Nielsen's a good example, a positive example, but I think it's what they went through, their sacrifices. Is it worth it? And obviously is worth for a lot of them, but is it worth it for the ones that didn't make it? The 99% that didn't get through that funnel, but gave up so much for that one chance. And that's what I built in 2024 with Silveira, to try to give opportunities to some of them that didn't make that.
Is it worth to follow the career and follow the dream?
It's difficult. I mean, for me, it was worth what I've done, but it wasn't an easy career. And I had the diploma to always fall back on. I imagine the amount of pressure if you don't, right?
And your family depend on you.
Correct. I luckily had a family that gave me everything that I could to follow my path, but that's why it's so difficult in countries like Brazil. In the US, it's a lot better because you have similar opportunities and you can go to college and afterwards, even if you don't play a professional level in Europe, or make a career, because being professional nowadays is somewhat easy. Having a career is different. You still have a life of opportunities behind it. You're not forgotten. And it seems like the student athletes here have good offers and jobs, and people like what they, lived and experienced to hire them in their companies. In Brazil, you don't see that. If you're a player, didn't make it, then what? Do you see any program that, come here? And Europe is in between. I'm not going to touch that because it would take too long, but just comparing the two countries, Brazil and US, is a system that needs to be looked at and hopefully reformed. Both ways. Here too, there's some things to make it a little bit better and easier for producing players to follow their dreams a little better.
So going back to America, with the World Cup next year,
Mm-hmm.
who do you think is going to win?
Oof. If you had to bet my money, I would say Spain.
Spain.
But a lot of things happen over the years. Players get injured, changes of coaches and things like that. If it was today, I'd say Spain is a big possibility. I think between Spain, Portugal, and France and Argentina, those are the favorites. But I'm Brazilian, never give up, as you know. So we got to believe that some changes are coming. We're making positive changes in the right direction, which is promising. And is how hot you approach that 1 month. Because think about a World Cup is not a league. Right. You just got to be hot for that one small period of time. And if you can pull a group together like Ancelotti have done over the years and find a system that is hard to beat, Brazil will be up there with those teams, I believe.
You have to pick a player, okay? I'm going to say a name and you have to pick a player.
Okay.
Kaká or Zidane?
Kaká. Oh, it's a difficult one though, because I was a number 10, but Kaká.
Kaká or Vini Jr.?
Kaká.
Kaká or Ronaldo?
Which Ronaldo?
Ronaldo.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
You're talking about player on the field.
On the field.
Oh, Ronaldo.
Ronaldo.
Although Ronaldo is also a great entrepreneur off the field.
Yeah. Ronaldo or Neymar?
Wow. I'm a big fan of Neymar. But I'm old school, what I saw Ronaldo doing is in my peak. I gotta stay with Ronaldo.
Ronaldo or Romario?
Wow. I asked that question in PSV when I got the team to come here. PSV played the Florida Cup and I was there, and I had an opportunity to ask the director that's been there for many years, and I said, hey, I see the things on the wall here. Ronaldo or Romario? I asked the same question. He didn't hesitate a minute.
He said what?
Romario. He said Ronaldo has all the physical attributes and he was a machine and incredible how with that speed he can do all that. Or Romario he's like, I couldn't understand it. It was like it just happened and you don't see it, it's done. And he said that was incredible to see. Oh man.
So Romario. Romario or Messi?
I'm Brazilian, I cannot say Messi, I say Romario.
Romario or Cristiano Ronaldo?
I'm still Brazilian.
Romario it is. Great. When I look back, your career, you played, you built, you sold your business during COVID, You're doing well. You're building this legacy in Orlando. I think we're going to talk about you in the next 30 years from now, and we're going to look back and see what happens to Orlando. It's, it takes a village. If you think about it,
Right.
easy to bring this together. Why not LA, right? Why not New York?
Mm-hmm.
Why Orlando? Why Florida is getting more people in the World Cup club than the New York, right? So because people like you are doing that. So what's next? What's the next game plan for Villar?
We just got started with what we're doing now, which is establishing Orlando in that, international football market and that main destination. There are some big events coming up, and obviously with our stadium being rebuilt, think what we've done without, now what we can do with. I think there's still a lot of movement in the market with calendars and things like that to still, I think we stamped it, but to stay on top of the mountain is the challenge now. And I foresee that in the next couple of years or so. So I'm fully dedicated towards that. In the future, what challenges come and whatnot, and how be involved more in the competitive side. Like I miss the competitive side, I still do. And part of me is I'm competing now for Orlando to attract the big games, but that day-to-day feeling, locker room and all that. But I think everything in its right time. I don't know what the future holds, but I'm definitely happy where I am in the right place.
Thank you so much, Villar. Appreciate your time.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for everything you're doing for Orlando, and hope to see you around and in the next Florida Cup season.
And I appreciate not only, getting the invite to be here, but what you guys been doing with Inter & Co here in Orlando, especially supporting what the Florida Cup is. We weren't many years in January, stopped. Now we came back, and because groups like you guys reinvesting and being part of it and seeing the value that we bring to the market, like you said, it takes a village, and we are happy to keep pushing the limits and provoking the markets.
Takes two Brazilians. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Game Plan is brought to you by Inter. Nearly 40 million clients around the Americas. You want to know more? Download Inter right now. Stay tuned for more.